When I was growing up, I mostly played handheld games on my DS and Game Boy, which means that I was a certified true gamer. But before that, I was actually a PC gamer, just not a real PC player, because instead of playing classics like Doom or Warcraft, I was being entertained and educated. Edutained, you might even say, by children's edutainment games. Edutainment games are basically exactly what it sounds like. Entertainment combined with education to make learning fun for kids that might not otherwise be interested unless it's a fun little computer game that you can click around on. Even though I grew up in the early 2000s, a lot of these CD-ROMs from my childhood were older titles from the 90s, and I played them so long ago that my memory is a little fuzzy. I've been wondering recently if they were actually as fun as I remember, and if I could still beat them, because even though it sounds easy, apparently not everyone is smarter than a 5th grader.
Is France a country?
I played an old CD-ROM game from every grade level to take a trip down memory lane and to answer the age-old question. 90s computer game. When looking for games, I found that there were a lot more series and other titles out there than I was personally familiar with, and definitely too many to play all of them, so I picked games that were made specifically for certain grades to get the full effect of elementary school education, and that were from more well-known series or were actually used in schools. So sorry if I don't play your personal favorite nostalgic computer game. It was either just not educational enough, too niche, or I just didn't end up playing it. To start off easy with kindergarten, I played Arthur's Kindergarten, where you help Arthur and his friends rebuild his treehouse by helping out around the neighborhood to earn supplies. I'll be honest, I didn't actually think there would be any challenge here. I just played this game when I was a kid and wanted to reminisce a little. The games were all really simple, like adding up groups of flowers, sorting books by fact or fiction, learning letters, recognizing words, and matching pictures and shapes. Even though I could figure out the answers though, Arthur himself was often confidently a moron.
Go to the shape that is a star.
I'll move to this crate. I think my dad asked for something else.
I don't know, is that mean to say? How old even is Arthur? Okay, yeah, he should definitely know his shapes by now. Though watching him fail over and over did enhance the experience at least. Before I got hooked on Disney Channel, I was a big PBS Kids kid, so it was nice to revisit all the characters from Arthur, decked out in all of their crunchy 90s pixels, and this was a nice and easy introduction into edutainment games, setting the standard for what was to come. I don't think I played any of the JumpStart games when I was younger, but the name did seem vaguely familiar, and then I remembered, oh yeah, isn't that girl eating a whole tray of peas in the cafeteria meme from a JumpStart game? And it turns out, yes it was. So that made it easy to choose which grade of JumpStart game to play, because I wanted to witness that experience for myself in JumpStart 1st grade. Plus, I figured it wouldn't hurt to see if there were any other meme-worthy animations hidden in there too. And right away, I was not disappointed when after this catchy opening jingle finished, I was clicking around on everything in frame, as is par for the course in 90s point-and-click games, and this kid made this sound. Also, this other kid's pants fell down, and then a caked-up dog waddled on screen to pee behind the fire hydrant.
Hello?
So I felt like we were going to be in for a good time. The beginning area is a classroom with a few different activities, a bookshelf, painting, and a computer game. The books were pretty standard 1st grade level reading, some nursery rhymes and silly stories, with a learning question between each page, and complete with illustrations that move, which was pretty modern for the time. They even made sounds too. The computer game was just a run-of-the-mill matching game, and painting was just normal painting. Though the options for different backgrounds and stickers were pretty fun, I immediately gravitated towards this space theme and used tons of stickers, putting down stars and planets and a UFO, where I drew Charlie and Pim from Smiling Friends about to discover that the Earth is flat.
Charlie, that's not Earth, right?
Which is standard 1st grade material and an iconic moment in critter history. Oh, and this one over here is Sandra Bullock floating into the ether of space. On to the next room. Outside the classroom, I saw a sign for the playground and the cafeteria, but I thought, no, I can't go yet. I gotta hold it in. So I went outside instead. Out on the blacktop, there were more activities and silly animations to click around on, and this girl just going insane on the jump rope actually got me. Oh, she's going so fast. This game of marbles had you shooting out marbles until you solved the math problem with the right numbers, and this milk cap game wouldn't let me play until I'd played enough to earn a milk cap, or JumpStart Steam achievement basically. But I was mostly okay with that because this kid looked actually evil. I did come back later though, and it was kind of a gambling, chance-based game, but with no actual stakes, where you answer questions during each round. The last recess activity was this sandbox metal detecting game where you match words together. I'm not gonna lie, this one did almost trip me up a little because it asks what word ends in the same sound as this other word.
The object buried here ends with the same sound as mouse.
And I thought that it wanted a rhyme, but when none of the words rhymed, I was worried that I forgot how rhymes work and was not, in fact, smarter than a first grader, which was worrying because this was only the second game I'd played and I was already failing. Maybe I'm still not smarter than a first grader because upon reviewing the instructions, I realized it actually wanted me to match the phonics sounds. So once I figured that out, I was able to find the horsey in the sandbox. In another area, there was a bus to take a little field trip, leaving you to navigate to the right destination by answering questions along the way, including this very coincidental question that showed up after I had drawn my space picture. I did question my judgment a little.
The Earth is flat. Child, the Earth can't actually be flat, right? There's the glass dome, dude. Oh my god, dude.
Oh my... I don't think so.
Sometimes it's easy to forget that these games are from a different time, but when this game asked questions about map reading, like what color is water on a map, I could really feel the 90s seeping through. Not that knowing what color water is on a map isn't still a useful skill to have, but I doubt many kids nowadays are actually reading maps with legends and rivers and roads, if they've even seen or held a physical map before. Instead, they're probably just pulling up Apple Maps on their iPad and asking Siri to take them to the nearest Mr. Beast Skibbity Riz convention or something.
You have reached your destination.
Topical joke. But maybe I'm wrong. Any first graders out there, or maybe someone who knows a first grader, let me know. Lastly, after the field trips, I finally made it to the cafeteria, first playing through the other games before the main event. There was this vending machine game where you add up the right amount of change, which also made me miss when you could buy things from a vending machine for less than like $3. Pizza dealing to choose the pizzas with the right toppings, the cash register that had you add up orders, and this cooking game where you follow the recipe to make food. And then it was time for the legendary food line.
1/2 tray of string beans, cookies.
Chicken.
Thank you. Asparagus.
Jello.
Chicken pudding.
1/4
Ice cream.
Jello.
Quarter tray of
Pudding. That's too much.
chicken cookies. Please give me
Asparagus.
cookies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was even more magical in person. Why are the choices so random and the voices so weird? Why are all the options just PNGs of real food? And why do I kind of want to eat some of that pudding? And why did they make the eating look and sound like that? I guess the reasoning behind it all doesn't really matter. I'm just glad I got to experience this important day in critter history, and that I got to meet this girly pop icon for myself.
Thank you.
Unlike JumpStart, Reader Rabbit was a series that I did play a few games from when I was younger, but they tended to all be different with their own theme and story, so I was curious to see what Reader Rabbit 2nd grade had in store. And right away, I was shocked to find that they changed the voice of this lion named Sam, because this is what I was used to him sounding like.
Oh, it's so good to see a familiar face. Can you help us?
And this is how he sounded in this game.
In the dungeon of a castle of a fiery dragon.
which is just atrocious. I have no idea which one came first, so he either got a serious upgrade or a severe downgrade. Aside from his voice, the rest of the game is based in a castle with different adventure minigames and activities, and as Sam, you collect widgets to progress through the levels and save Reader Rabbit from the dungeon. In one game, you collect words that match a theme, like plurals, solid objects, and certain numbers, by moving around with the arrow keys. Sort of a deep cut here, but it reminded me of this one Scooby-Doo game that I used to play on the Cartoon Network site, if anyone knows what I mean. So that was kind of fun. This magic mirror activity had you choose if sentences were fact or opinion, while this book had you answer a writing prompt based on a small story and its picture. There was also this shape matching game where you run down an endless hallway using the arrow keys, with parts rendered in glorious, crunchy 90s 3D. And this other game had you using the new age digital magic of electronic mail to send Reader Rabbit a Mad Lib style email by filling in the blanks. If it seems like I'm kind of speeding through the games, it's because there wasn't anything else in between them, just a cut to the next screen, and the same few activities kept repeating over and over, though the skill level or scenery would change a little as you progressed. I'm not really here to be a critic, but if I was gonna nitpick a little, I would probably say that I wish there was more to the minigames than just teleporting between them, and more variety to the games overall, because it was kind of tedious to just keep playing the same ones over and over. But since this is an edutainment CD-ROM from 1999 made for second graders, I won't bother saying anything. I only played through the first level, or tower in the castle, because even after I reached the second tower, all the games were still the same. Aside from that though, the different environments were all colorful and the characters had goofy voices, which was fun. It was overall pretty quirky and on theme with the castle setting, with wacky castle interiors, the magic mirror, a jester, and these knights in all of their different outfits. There was even a song at one point.
Am I strong enough? Can I withstand the fiery breath of danger long enough?
It's a 90s game, of course there's gonna be a song. I also liked that some of the games were different from the normal point-and-click style that was typical with these types of games, and had arrow key navigation instead, even if playing with these controls was admittedly janky as hell. For 3rd grade, I played ClueFinders 3rd grade, another series that I really liked as a kid, and this game in particular I used to play a bunch, so I wondered if I could still speedrun it the way I used to when I was actually a 3rd grader. The ClueFinders are a group of kids that go on adventures and solve mysteries, kind of like the Scooby-Doo Mystery Gang but modernized for the cool hip 90s kids of the digital age. You can tell that it's modern and hip because it's a computer game, and because our main girl Joni here is kind of a brat.
Who are you? We've got to get into that city.
The story and the rest of the kids are also just so very 90s coded, and it wasted no time in sneaking in a couple sitcom-style jokes within the opening cutscenes.
Superstition?
Lost City? Monster!
Peanuts?
Owen!
This particular adventure follows the gang exploring the mystery of Mathra, a dragon of legend recorded by the ancient Numerian tribe that's eating local fauna and has kidnapped Joni's uncle. Oh no! The kids travel through different areas of the jungle to reach the lost city of Numeria, starting in Goo Lagoon, a land full of goo, bugs, and Beatles impersonators.
Look lads, 2 big bugs and a little bug.
Oh, I get it. Bugs. Beatles. Most of the activities are pretty simple, but still have fun characters and themes to them, like this sloth that describes a specific bug he needs removed from his back, this word relation activity to match the right key in the lock, and a tree where you find the odd leaf out. There are also these spiders that need matching shapes, this bridge that can only be built by matching the pattern of numbers, and my personal favorite, the worm boat. I've always loved these worms in their tiny little sweaters. They're gray and faceless and squiggly and make weird noises when you pick them up. But they're just so cute. The word problem has you sort them into the right seating order, and I did have to think a little harder about this one than I did with the rest, but we did get those little worms sent on their way. In between stages, the ClueFinders find a clue, and also the Goo Beetles came back and even sang a little song about their goo.
What happened to you? You smell like old socks from mathless shoes.
Which was actually a pretty decent Beatles impression. After collecting enough Goo Beetle bags awarded from the minigames, you're then able to move on to Goo Falls, guarded by these big stone faces that sound like Tobor from Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Welcome back, my little friends. Any dream of his will become a nightmare.
The puzzles are solved by matching each beetle's number or color in a path to the top. This was a bit more like a maze than an actual puzzle, but it did still have me thinking for a bit on some of them. Maybe because it was hard to concentrate when the music was this only 5-second long loop playing endlessly on repeat while I was trying to figure it out. Not to mention the other goo-related sound effects, too. So moist. Between puzzles, Joni continued to act like a brat.
Get a clue! We're famous! We have a website!
But we eventually made it to the top and got one half of the key. In the next area, the Monkey Kingdom, the activities were more math-based instead of language and logic-based, like the Goo Lagoon, like adding up money, arranging the largest number, adding up the perimeter of a rectangle, and finding the right date on a calendar through a word problem. This time, instead of collecting Goo Beetles, you're given different colored sneeze berries. Along the way, the ClueFinders find another clue, listen to the monkeys sing a song. Joni was rude and sarcastic to every monkey that was just trying to help her.
I hope these sneezeberries keep the inside of my backpack clean.
And they eventually reached the rings of volcanic fury, solving math equations with the sneezeberries to get across. After collecting the second half of the key, and a short trip through a treetop mini area featuring some geography activities, and the cutest little birds in little outfits dressed up for their little bird vacations, we finally reached the lost city of Numeria. And it turns out, the pilot that was carting us around the jungle was actually evil the whole time, piloting his dragon-shaped plane around to poach animals for his furrier business. But luckily, the ClueFinders are on the case, playing even more educational activities to stop him, like sorting pictures in the right order, putting together animal skeletons, and solving these close-up picture riddles on this ancient Numerian lava lamp. One of these games did give me the most trouble so far, but only because it was asking which animals are nocturnal, and how was I supposed to know that hamsters are active at night? Is that common third grade knowledge? It did take me a couple of tries to get right, but we got there in the end, and I learned something new, I guess. With our newly collected snagnets, that's snake magnets for all of you who aren't well-versed in Numerian culture, we built bridges across the so-called bottomless pits by matching words by features like opposites, homophones, or categories. And at the end, we found Joni's uncle. And also, I'm pretty sure we just killed that guy. Oh. Nope, he's fine. Somehow. Well, the mystery is solved and the bad guy is defeated, but I was also thinking Mathro the dragon is based on an ancient tale from thousands of years ago. Was the monster back then also just an evil guy flying in a plane somehow? Oh no, okay, it's real. Well, those were all my questions. I'm glad the story didn't leave any loose ends. I was really happy to find that ClueFinders still holds up. All of the themed areas were pretty well done, and the story wasn't too bad either, at least for third grade media. And of course, I just love those little worms, and the little vacation birds, so those two things alone give this game a high rating in my book. For the next game, I went on a logical adventure with the Zoombinis. This one doesn't have a grade in the title, but it says it's for ages 8+, so I thought that was close enough to 4th grade. I also went with this game because what the heck is a Zoombini? Well, as I learned in the game's intro, they're these little blue guys that got swindled out of their business, land, and profits, and now they have to relocate to escape their oppressive and capitalistic hell, which is a little too relatable, I fear. During each level, the game doesn't directly tell you what to do unless you click on the help button, which I didn't even realize was there until later on, so I did end up leaving 4 Zoombinis behind on the very first stage. It seemed like only some of them could pass on each bridge depending on which features they had, but there's 25 different features, so it was hard to know which parts were the reason for making the bridges sneeze and reject them, and you only had 5 strikes to get it right. Still, though, I got most of them to the other side through trial and error, so it wasn't that bad. In the next area, the concept of matching Zoombinis to the right path was pretty much the same as before, so I just trial and errored my way through this one too. Next up on the journey for freedom, we reached this creature who wanted a pizza. Make me a pizza! And would ask for more, less, or no toppings of a certain type, so more trial and error, and fortunately little to no stakes. Because who would put a steak on a pizza? Yeah, I meant like no risks. Moving on. Well, I tried to move on, but the Zoombinis I left behind in that beginning stage were actually important, apparently. So since I needed 16 in total for the next stage, I went back, made 16 more, repeated the previous stages again, and this time when returning to the bridge puzzle and taking it slowly instead of impatiently speeding through, I did manage to get all 16 across. Maybe I really am smarter than a 4th grader. With my full group together now, in the next stage I linked each Zoombini on the ferry by a common feature, and we sailed off to continue the adventure. At this lily pad stage, I finally discovered the help button, which advised me that this level wasn't as complicated as it initially looked, and was just about finding a path for each frog based on its color and shape on its back. As the Zoombinis were riding across on their frogs, it really shows just how tiny they are. They're like little blueberries. This next area again had the Zoombinis get paired up by matching features, which took a bit of rearranging but was simple enough. Though this next game with this lion's pattern was admittedly very confusing, even with the help button this time. The color pattern on the wall seemed straightforward to match, but when I tried matching it by the color of everyone's noses, I just ended up totally failing. I don't know. I could just be bad at interpreting directions. After losing some valiant blueberry troops, the next game of matching a Zoombini to their reflection was fortunately pretty easy, and the last puzzle matched each little guy to their correct path, but was a bit more challenging as they had to go in a specific order to get it right. We only lost 1 comrade though, so not too bad. And after a long path of trials and challenges, bridges and caves, pizza and frogs, we made it to the newly founded free town of Zoombiniville with a total of 6 Zoombinis. It could be worse. If that stupid lion puzzle hadn't messed me up, I probably could have had a full group. Maybe. I don't know, probably not. Apparently, if you're able to bring a whole group across without losing any Zoombinis at any stage, you can unlock a special building in the town, but I was not going to do that. I was just glad to do my part in helping them to their freedom, and now that they know their way there, they can probably take it from here. Lastly, for 5th grade, we move on to Math Blaster, 9 through 12, which again didn't have an exact grade level, but 5th grade does fit into that age range. This game opens with the Blasternauts negligently cha-chaing while piloting a spaceship until they crash on an alien planet, leaving them to collect special medallions to appease the planet's Monkey King and find a way to escape. Right away, I really liked the animation, voice acting, and humor of this one. I mean, tell me that this isn't a great reaction picture. Maybe it's because it was made for a slightly older audience, which just means I have the sense of humor of a 12-year-old. Good to know. I did think the games would be more space-themed, but since there are multiple games in the series, they likely all have different themes, and this one was all about monkeys. ghost monkeys being bonked with bananas to reach the right equation, regular flying monkeys getting bonked with bananas in a Galaga-style arcade game, silly dressed-up monkeys mixed into varying patterns. It's all just monkeys. And math, too, of course. While most of the actual math problems didn't really give me any trouble, which honestly, when I saw the age range, I almost didn't play this because I thought I was going to have a terrible time with math for 12-year-olds. I did sometimes get a little tripped up by some of the games requiring both moving and thinking at the same time. I mean, I can play regular non-math themed video games no problem, and I'm not bad at mental math if I can stare at a blank wall for a bit while I figure it out in my head. But some of these stages also had platforming and other moving parts, which I did not always handle very well. This bridge building game using fractions and the platform puzzle in between stages wasn't too bad, since each part was separate. But this level with moving platforms and various math equations did take a little bit to get used to, because doing math while jumping takes a lot of brain power, okay? The worst one for me though was this conveyor belt game where you have to switch each belt direction to the right color and collect the gems as they fall. I know this is made for 10-year-olds, but I seriously felt like I was playing chess, trying to think a few steps ahead and click the little buttons and move around fast enough to collect the gems. It's harder than it looks, I swear. Luckily, this last game that walked so Fireboy and Water Girl could run was a lot more manageable, as you selected the right characters to move around the map, open doors, and collect all the gems. An ending cutscene of confronting the Monkey King played after finishing the stage, but I was confused because there wasn't actually an ending, or no payoff to the story at least, which felt very anticlimactic. Luckily, the narrator chimed in and informed me that I'd have to play everything all over again to get the real ending, so I did. But then, when I got to the end again, and a different cutscene played, they still left me hanging and told me I had to do another playthrough. By this point, I was pretty burned out from playing a bunch of 90s elementary school games, so I could not be bothered to keep mathing this time. Especially since each playthrough just repeated the same games every time. I did look up the thrilling conclusion to the story though. After playing 4 total adventures, the Monkey King is revealed to be pulling a Wizard of Oz type deal, gives the Blasternauts a ship to get home, and waves goodbye to them with his totally real and not a BNG at all body from afar. And with that, after facing countless trials, learning new facts, and earning multiple AOL free trials, my quest came to an end. I gotta say, I feel pretty validated after getting through most of these games without any, or mostly without any trouble. I really wasn't sure if they were going to somehow test a part of my brain that I hadn't used since elementary school, but rest assured, I can now confidently say that I am smarter, or at least as smart as a 90s computer game. I know some people are probably going to be disappointed that I didn't play a game from a particular series or mention other series at all, but still feel free to let me know what your favorite nostalgic games to play were, 90s or otherwise. I sometimes still play other old CD-ROMs from my childhood just for fun, and I'd love to hear about the funny or glitchy or just weird experiences you guys had from all of the other true PC gamers out there. Maybe I could do a part 2 with games from the 2000s, because I played a lot of those too, if anyone wants to see that. Hopefully you were able to learn something too, or at least had fun watching me blame the games for my poor coordination and critical thinking skills. Hi, welcome to JellyTV, where I shout out a video that I think deserves some love. I recommend watching The Obscure Side of Sanrio by Flurry Moon. Most people are familiar with Sanrio's Hello Kitty, but what about Hello Kitty's short-lived professional soccer career? Or the My Melody and Kuromi anime? Or the Sanrio character that's just a tooth? Flurry Moon dives into some of the lesser-known bits of Sanrio lore, from controversies to tooth guys, and really gets into all the details. I had a lot of fun watching her video and learning about all of these weird little tales, so if you're also a Sanrio fan or just like to hear about weird Japanese mascot shenanigans, then I recommend giving this video a watch, and checking out the rest of Flurry Moon's channel for other girly and nostalgic media. A huge thank you to Daniel E. from ABQ, Kevin Evans, Bunny, Bunzo, Karis Desarun, Chumby, Grayson and Sage, Hayden Campbell, India W, Lojua Animal, Lou, Luna Stephenson, Mark Kent, Nighttime Coral, Ollie E, Paper Sam, Pharmamags, Pixel Puppy, Shaples, Theodore Nicoloilius, Vivian Valencia, and the rest of my patrons for supporting me. Congratulations! You've all earned your own little vacation bird or worm as your new virtual pet. I hope you'll take good care of them.